Hi guys, it's me Vanessa. I'm going to go over one of the meditations I had today, and hold on, sorry. I'm going to go over one of the meditations. Well, I had two meditations today, right? But first, I'm going to state. A while ago, I had I had done a spiritual cleansing, right? I was in the shower and I was letting the water run over me and everything. And just a little bit of background, my whole life, when I've heard God's voice, he's always referred to me as beloved or water. Anytime he's ever referenced me in a certain aspect, I've always been water, right? So I take that, multiple experiences throughout my life and everything. And so, like, whenever I've done my spiritual cleansing, I've pretty much done like spiritual baths or showers or whatever, right? And that's when I've kind of got most of my enlightenment sessions, right? So a while ago I did a automatic writing session, and I had like finished with that part, and I was like, I hadn't closed yet because I was still hearing them talk to me, and I was interacting with them back and forth, and I had to go to work, so I was getting ready for work, and so I wanted to do a spiritual shower because I was a little bit late, but I just wanted to do the cleansing before I went into the environment I was going into. So that being said, I was in the shower and the water's running down over me, and they told me to they told me many of things before that, but I'm just gonna get to the gist of it. They told me that I can direct whatever I want to energetically wise. I can direct the energy to go whatever way I want. So they says, but that's not all. You'll use that in time, or whatever they said, right? But this is the main part. They told me that they were going to give me a gift. They told me that. I'm like, okay, well, what is it? They're like, well, we're going to show you right now, but you have to get it perfect. You have to make sure you have it its entirety and you remember. It's like, okay, well, you guys are always telling me to remember. So, I mean, it's like, do you remember this? Do you remember that? So I'm like, okay. So I went through all the mudras and everything they showed me. And I'm like, well, I don't even understand what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. Like, what is this for? And they says, well, in time you'll see. Like, in its entirety, as long as it's in entirety, then you will see. And just say, I see you when you see it, right? So I see you, and that's quite intriguing, actually, by the way. So that being said, I had the meditation today, right? And there's been a lot of spiritual battles going on, a lot of, I've been fighting demons my whole life, so it's like not the first time I've, been through spiritual battles and, spiritual warfare at its finest and whatever, it doesn't really matter. Like, the light's always gonna come out on top anyways, regardless of whoever plans what in this realm. It's still an illusion. So it's like an illusion on top of an illusion, and then what's after that? Probably another illusion. So, I mean, all the hidden tricks and all the hidden things, it's like, whatever happens, it doesn't really matter. God's got it either way. It doesn't really matter. God's got the whole hidden tricks. Because actually the devil works for God, so remember that, right? Wherever y'all are praying to the devil, y'all are actually like, whatever. Anyways. So the meditation starts out, right? And, well, this is what I asked for. My intent was to see clarity and discernment in what I am currently feeling as far as which direction I should go, if, what the intentions are. This is what I asked for. I asked for truth and clarity as well as discernment. Things that are hidden, that are not seen from one or both parties, and clarity for the outcome. And so I did that, and I did my grounding and everything before that, but so I started the meditation and everything, and I seen him. And he's like a Knights Templar back in like the Crusade days, and he's got the cape on. He's in the outfit, the Templar outfit, and he pulls out a ring, and he hands it to me, and I'm like, oh, that's nice. Like, he opened the box and everything. I'm like, oh, that's beautiful, And I'm like looking at him, and he didn't propose it. He just like takes it from me and puts it back in his pocket. I'm like, well, what is that? Like, I don't, what's going on? I was like, he's like, you'll see, you know. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever. I don't know where I went, but like it's this, the meditation switch. The meditation switches over to him walking into the house, right, his house. And there's a lady on the bed, and she excuse me, she is laying there, and she's probably sick or something, because it feels like she's not well. She's not well. I'm not sure if she's spiritually sick or if she's mentally sick. Well, she ends up being mentally sick, but I mean, I don't know if she's like physically actually sick as well. I'm not really sure about that. But so he goes in there, and he takes and he does her energy, right? He pulls her energy from her. But when he's pulling her energy, he starts coughing, like, you know? And I'm like, oh, that's not good. You know? So, like, he takes it, and, like, he coughs, and he, like, puts it over his face and everything. And, like, so he puts it into himself at that point. And I'm like, okay. Well, that can't be good. You know, so he takes this, I guess you would say like a cloth, or like something that's like as big as a pillowcase, but not quite as big. And he puts it over, but he gently puts it over her, like he like gently suffocates her, if you understand what I'm saying, and like lovingly, kind of, I guess, you know. And he does it very calmly, very collectedly, and you know, and then when he pulls it off, she's got blood on the. But he doesn't hit her. He doesn't strike her at all. But when he pulls it off, it's like blood on her. On the cloth. So I'm like, okay. So he takes that, and he like leaves it on. I guess he leaves it on the bed and everything. So he picks her up and takes her out to this cliff, and I'm not sure if it's a cliff or if it's like a waterfall or something. But he like takes her and he like throws her off the side. You know, like he says something. I'm not sure what he says because I can't hear him say it. But he's setting intention. For sure, setting intention. And then he goes back to the house, and there's an older man there, and he's like extremely, he's a dark priest for sure. His wife's outside, she's a dark priestess for sure. And I can tell I don't know them because I didn't recognize them. I've never even seen them. I do not recognize who they are, so I must not have known who her parents were or anything, because I was like, this doesn't feel right? So the old man comes in while he is gone into his house, and he's like a little bit hunchback, and he's got like the little cane there. He's walking around, and he's like looking around. He's like, something feels off in here, right? He doesn't know what it is, but he's like, he feels it. So he's walking around, and he goes to the bed, and he's like, something happened, right? So he's like. But he lays on the bed, but it doesn't click. So he's obviously not that, well, we're not going to say that. But, because me, if I would have touched the bed and something happened there, sure enough, I would have seen everything. So he lays on the bed, and he's just laying there, and the Templar comes in, and he's all like, basically they're interacting, and they're like, well, what are you doing here? And he's like, I was, looking for such and such. And he's like, well, I don't know what he told her, but he's like, So he gets up, and the old man gets up and starts walking around. He's like, no, he can get up yet. The Templar goes and sits on the bed, and he like takes the cloth that he like actually left there, because the old man hadn't seen the bloody cloth yet. He picks it up, and he like folds it up, and he puts it in his boot, right, really slightly, and the man gets up and starts walking around, and he's like, well, can I help you with anything, basically, is what it felt like, He's like, no, just let me know whenever, And his wife is outside in the woods, of course. And when the old man comes out, he goes and like calls for her, and she comes out from around the back of the house where the woods are, and they walk off, right? So then the guy, the Templar, goes and gets his horse, and he pulls the horse in front, and then the kids are inside the house. I don't know I guess the grandmother might have had them or whatever, but they just popped up out of nowhere, and they they all hug him and everything, and then he goes and he's like, well, come on, you guys, we're going to take her somewhere, right? So he's on the horse, and when he pulls up at the horse, and he pulls the little girl up first, and then the little boy second, and the little boy's like, "Where are we going, Daddy?" And that's what I did here is, "Where are we going, Daddy?" And he's like, he doesn't answer them. He just hops down off the horse, right? Well, he's got this basket that's crafted very, very thoughtfully, tied to the horse on his saddle, on the horn of the saddle, and he goes and he grabs a baby, and this baby's pretty, not too young, but not too old. He's not old enough, not old enough to have teeth yet, if you understand what I'm saying. So he takes the baby and he loves on him before he puts him in the basket, and he like delicately puts the baby in the basket, and he gives the girl direction. He slaps the horse on its ass and it goes off, right? At that point he goes and sits down and he does like a little whatever he said, and the lady pops up again, and I just start seeing like all these little interactions between the two of them, and it's like one where she's getting mad at the kid, another where she's crying because she wants the kid, another where she's like, seems like she's halfway drunk, I don't know, and so it's like when she comes up, right, he knows that he's aware that she's there. He's aware that she's in spirit. She's not aware that she's in spirit. So she sees the kids like going off, and she goes to chase after him, and he stops her really quickly. Like, I don't know what he said, but he stops her, right? And she goes over and she gives him a hug, and he hugs her, you know. It's a sad hug. It wasn't like, it was loving, but it was sad. It was like, I don't know how to say it, but anyways, he says something, and like he snaps his fingers, and she coughs, right? He coughed after he did the thing, but she coughs whenever, at the same time he coughs, right? So they cough at the same time, and like she's back to normal as far as like in spirit form, you know? And then she just goes and walks away. And then I somehow come up behind, just after this happens, I come walking up, and he comes over to me. He's like, he was sitting on a bench or whatever, like it's like some form of table or I don't know, whatever it was. And he breaks out the ring and gives it to me. So what happened in between all of this is, before he took the kids outside, he had taken the bloody cloth, and he had put it in a metal urn, you know what I mean? And then he took the ring and he had it in his hand, and he places the ring on the table where he had his lighting at, and then he does these mudras, right? These mudras I recognized, but he didn't do them in its entirety. So that being said, I was like, yeah, this was kind of drilled in my head, and it's supposed to be in its entirety. So I kind of like just shut it down at that point. Like I shut down the meditation at that point. And so I'm like, okay, so I'm kind of like pondering and digesting all of it and everything, and doing a little bit of research on some shit, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go back and see if I can get some more clarity. So I did, and so what happened when I went back in for the second time, I said, look, I need the truth in its entirety, and show me what needs to be seen and discerned. So I did that, and when I went in, not only did he start the meditation out with the mudras, he told me the story behind the intent of the mudras. It's in its entirety, from beginning to end, and even ones that I had forgotten, he did. So that being said, if they are that accurate, I have to take that into account, because I mean, we all can manifest some pretty good stuff, but there's just some things that hit. Let's just say it hits the nail on the head. Like, you can't deny some things, okay? There's just, yeah. And I had never been, like, whenever I learned those, I had never been manipulated by any negative aspect at that point in time. So it was kind of like, okay, well, there's something to that, okay? So, just saying, you know, so, that being said, reincarnation, I remember many of my lives, especially the medieval days. Those are very prevalent. When you're doing magic for somebody, or on somebody, actually, on somebody, it is very spiritually unethical to do it without their consent, or without them knowing, period. It's just, they need to be able to know what you're doing to them, understand what you're doing to them, and consent to doing it. This is universal law, okay? If you're not doing that, then it's a form of manipulation, and it's not got good consequences. That being said, things can happen in ways that people can try to plan out, and sometimes people don't even know it themselves, what they're doing, or have seen, or have been in past times. So it's kind of like, when it comes down to it, what I get from this is he binded her, because I'm not going to say what he said, but he binded her, this is what he told me, he binded her and her bloodline from trying to interact with me on mine, and the discernment to differentiate the karmic from the love whenever the need be, so he can have the union in the end in whatever life. So, that being said, I mean, reincarnation is amazing, and intent is very, very much a perpetuator, as well as could be a negator as well. So be careful what your actions are in this life, because you never know what you did in your past life. That being said, if you guys liked the video, subscribe to my channel. If everything else goes, hey, if you have any questions or comments, please be positive, and I'll answer you back. Just remain positive. I will ignore any negativity or comments, or, you know, if you guys have any type of direction as far as, you know, what your perspective is on it, or anything else, I'm open to understanding anybody's perspective in any aspect, because we all have light and dark. So it's the intertwining and the dance of the light and dark on both masculine and the feminine that matters, because ultimate union will be ultimate union in the end regardless, and light will be emitted. So that being said, in whatever aspect, and with that being said, bye you guys, and I see you, and have a great night. Bye.